earlier today I put out a question for you guys to drop your Packers questions. So I want to go over all the ones that have been asked so far and give my thoughts on whatever it is you guys are currently curious about. So first off, we have here from Robert Ruff, who says, what are some key positions you think the Packers should look at in next year's draft? That is a very good question. I feel like, looking at the draft, it can be hard to know exactly what the Packers will do because while it may seem like there's certain areas of need, they can always surprise us. Like last year, I did not expect the Packers to use one of the first-round picks on a middle linebacker. We already had Devondre Campbell. It seemed like maybe we would use it elsewhere, but clearly, of course, coming in, drafting Quay Walker, which I think was a good move, bolstered that middle linebacker group. You never know what could happen, but thinking about it right now, last year we spent a ton of picks on wide receiver, Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Samori Toure. Of course, Packers could bolster the receiver unit even more, and I think that you can never have enough talented wide receivers, but I think when you look at receiver, I think we're pretty set there. I think it could make sense this offseason to get a more solid veteran presence potentially at wide receiver. QB, we're fine. We got Love and Rodgers. Tight end potentially. But just thinking first round, I feel like defensive line, defensive end, edge rusher, maybe offensive line. That can make lots of sense because we're pretty set at corner. Rasul Douglas, Eric Stokes, Jair. Maybe safety. Adrian Amos is his final year of his contract. He might return. Darnell Savage, fifth-year option next year. So there are so many possibilities, and I'll probably think more on it sometime in the future. But right now, I'd say either defensive line, edge rusher, or offensive line to bolster those units because you can never have enough guys there. But I'll think more on that. That's not my official answer. Then we have Zaboy Zach, who says, what were your expectations for this year? I thought we would at least win the division. What about you? Yes, I thought we would win the division for sure. That was my prediction. I thought we would be one of the best teams in the NFL, honestly. Just when you look at what I thought the defense would be, I thought we would be a top 5, top 10 unit, which were more middle of the pack. And so that clearly hurt us. The offense has not played as well as I thought we would. So I really thought we had a chance at a Super Bowl just to compete in the playoffs as we typically have. But unfortunately, that has not been the case this year. Then we have here from RocketFin313, thoughts on Packers making trades in the 2023 NFL Draft. We saw them do it last year in the second round, moving because we had 2 second-round picks because of the trade with the Raiders from the Devontae Adams trade. We moved 53 and 59 all the way up to draft Christian Watson. And we've seen Brian Gutekunst in the past prove that he is not afraid to, move up in drafts or back as well. So right now, though, I honestly don't know. I haven't thought too much about the draft considering we're still in the season. But in the next 2 weeks, if the Packers are officially eliminated, then draft talk will probably start at some point in the future. We'll see. And I'll do more mock drafts and stuff like that. Once the offseason gets going, we'll get in full draft mode as we did last year as well. Then we have here from Mason Laub, I think that's how you say the name. Do you think after this year, if we only have 6 wins or so, we will trade Rodgers and start a rebuild? Not necessarily. I think there are many different options, and it's hard to exactly know what is going to happen. But we did sign Rodgers to a 3-year, $150 million contract, so I think there's still a high likelihood that Rodgers could decide to return to Green Bay. And if he does decide to return, I think this offense will be a lot better when you look at Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs having a full year under their belt. We've seen Christian Watson these past few weeks really explode, and I think that it sort of shows you that there is some hope for this Packers offense next year if Rodgers returns. We'll see if he does. I feel like he could. Who knows what's going to happen? Maybe he retires. The only way I feel like he gets traded is if he wants to be traded. I don't think the Packers would just trade him. I don't think he has a no-trade clause. I honestly don't know about that one. But I feel like if Rodgers wants to stay in Green Bay, you keep riding with Rodgers because I still think he's an elite quarterback. Then we have here from Carson Edquist, who says, do you think Nathaniel Hackett will ever be a Green Bay coach again if fired by Denver? I guess that's possible. I would say I doubt it, but you never know. I do wonder if the Broncos will keep him on just because of how poorly the Broncos have played this year. Definitely have not lived up to their expectations, similar to the Packers, but probably even worse so than the Packers. Then here we have from Vlogging in USA, will the Packers get a top 10 pick and will they draft a receiver? I think right now I looked at the current draft picks if the season ended today. Of course, there's 6 weeks left, so many things could change. But right now the Packers are around 12th, I believe. So we could get up to the top 10 if we keep losing. which I hope we don't. I want to see us win, but it's possible. We're not too far from that, honestly. Will they draft a receiver? It depends on who's there at that point. I think you never have enough wide receivers because who knows who you draft. If you draft a top 10 receiver, he's probably going to be elite. And let's say you add that to Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, the Packers could be really set at wide receiver. So it's not necessarily a bad idea, but we'll see. We'll see there. We have a few more. Vlogging in USA, ask Packers fans, should we look forward to the NFL draft or hope for the Packers to make the playoffs? I would hope for the Packers to make the playoffs, personally, because once you make the playoffs, you never know what could happen. Wild card teams have won the Super Bowl. We saw the Packers do it back in the day, so definitely make the playoffs. But if not, a high draft pick obviously would be nice. Man Spider says, are they going to start Jordan Love? I actually just made a video on that topic. But I think they'll keep riding with Rodgers, even if we don't make the playoffs or if we're out of playoff contention, but I think it depends on Rodgers' thumb. If we're out of playoff contention, his thumb is still really bothering him and he wants to heal, then you put Jordan Love in, personally, I think, but I would still rock with Rodgers. Then we have 316 Ray. If we lose against the Bears, do you think we start Love after the bye? Similar answer to the last one. Then we have here D23 Bo. If any coach were to be on the hot seat on the Packers coaching staff, who would it be? I think it would be Joe Barry, because I think when you look at the Packers, Matt LaFleur in his time here in Green Bay, besides this season, has been a very productive coach. Obviously helps to have Aaron Rodgers, but he's led the team well in his first few seasons here. This has been a not great year for Matt LaFleur, but I think he's still done good. Joe Barry, on the other hand, I feel like there's just so much inconsistency on the defensive side of the ball. There's so many moments where it seems like the Packers could be much better than they currently are on defense, and it's not really because of lack of talent. There seems to be miscommunication, which obviously could fall on the players, but it just seems like the defense isn't always in the best spot and best situations for, what's happening at the time. And so I think that, sometimes it helps to just have something new happen, and I think that maybe Joe Barry could be gone. We'll see what happens, just because I think if you bring in someone new, it sort of resets things and gives some new life if there has been struggle there. So we'll see. But I think if I had to pick, I would say Joe Barry. Then we have Killer Champion. Will we beat the Eagles? It'd be nice to beat the Eagles. If we play like we did against the Cowboys, it's possible. But we've seen the Packers be very inconsistent. And if we play like we have a majority of the year, I would say we won't, but there's a chance. We have a chance. Then here we have Chad Baxter. Since there is no hope for playoffs this year, when does Green Bay clean the front office and who stays and who goes? I'm pretty sure this offseason we gave a few people extensions. I believe Matt LaFleur. I believe Brian Gutekunst, if I'm not mistaken. I think Brian Gutekunst is a very good, solid GM. No one hits on every single draft pick, but I think that he's done a good job over the past few years of finding good talent for cheap elsewhere. Last year, especially Rasul Douglas, Devondre Campbell. This year, Rudy Ford has won. A few special teamers like Keyshawn Nixon. I think that Brian Gutekunst does a good job. I think Matt LaFleur also does a good job. So I really don't think the Packers need to clean out the front office. I really don't. Then here we have, actually these are just straight up comments. Debo just says my name, Luke Beller Luke. So there we go. That's pretty much everything I saw from you guys. I appreciate your questions. If you guys want to check out my second channel, I've been putting out more NFL content there. So if you want to see stuff not Packers related, I'll leave the link to that channel down below. Feel free to go subscribe. That's all I have for this video, and I'll see you guys next time.